Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter the myth that poetry is some kind of secret code designed to confuse you. If you've ever felt like you're missing the hidden point of a famous verse, well, you are exactly who This Explainer is for. We're zeroing in on the absolutely fantastic insights from Chapter 8 of our source material, which is all about analyzing and interpreting poems. Okay, let's just dive right in and fundamentally change how you read verse.
First things first, does poetry actually scare you? Let's be totally honest here. For a lot of us, reading a poem triggers immediate anxiety about finding some impenetrable, deeply hidden meaning that the author supposedly buried just to make us feel foolish. If you get that knot of dread in your stomach, you are definitely not alone. It's a super common reaction, largely because of how we've all been taught to approach literature. But the reality? It's actually much simpler and, honestly, quite a bit more beautiful. The myth is that poetry is this secret code where you need a cipher to read it. The reality is that poetry is really just highly compressed language. The poet has intentionally squeezed this massive amount of imagery and emotion into a very small, tightly packed space. And the really good news? We have the tools to easily unpack it together, zero magic tricks required. Chapter 8 gives us the absolute perfect way to visualize this. It's called the frozen orange juice metaphor. Think of a poem like one of those little cans of frozen orange juice concentrate you get from the grocery store. The poet compresses all their language into that dense, icy little block. Your job as the reader isn't to just eat it out of the can, right? Your job is to add your own thoughts, your own experiences, and your logic, that's the water, to get the full, delicious glass of meaning. To do this effectively, we're going to use a really simple 4-step toolkit to construct meaning out of any dense text you might encounter. First, you read for the literal meaning, like what is actually happening on the page. Second, you identify the speaker. Third, you carefully decode the specific word choices. And fourth, you add your own thoughts to fill out the whole picture. It's literally just 4 steps to unlock almost any poem. All right, cool 1, finding the speaker. Let's talk about identifying the narrator. It is incredibly important to remember that the speaker, the narrator, is often entirely separate from the poet themselves. Just because an author wrote the words doesn't mean they're the one talking to you in the poem. Take the famous American poet Emily Dickinson, for example. She wrote this wonderful poem called A Narrow Fellow in the Grass, and right there in the 3rd stanza, she features the phrase, "when a boy." Because she explicitly uses those words, we instantly know the narrator is actually an adult male looking back on his childhood. So the poet is a woman, but the speaker is a man. Identifying this little detail immediately grounds us in the proper perspective. Moving right along to tool 2, decoding word choice. Let's look at some specific images. Now, this is where the real magic of poetry happens. Poets do not waste words. Every single one is a deliberate choice meant to evoke a specific reaction from you. In that same Dickinson poem about the narrow fellow in the grass, which, by the way, is a literal description of a snake, the narrator describes a physical reaction, tighter breathing and zero at the bone. Let's pause and really look at that highly compressed language. Notice how precise these words are at painting a vivid picture of the narrator's emotional state. I mean, tighter breathing universally indicates fear or panic, right? And zero at the bone means he is absolutely cold with terror. These precise words brilliantly illustrate a profound, paralyzing fear, literally chilling the reader to the bone, rather than the poet just flatly stating, "Oh, he was scared." The word choice forces you to feel the fear right along with him. Okay, section 3, putting it to the test. Let's go ahead and apply these tools to some classics. If you can do this with Emily Dickinson, you can do it with anyone. Let's apply this to Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem about an eagle. Applying step 1, we read literally. This bird isn't dying, and he isn't some helpless baby. He's actively watching from his azure, or blue, sky, perched high up on his mountain walls. And then he falls like a thunderbolt. So why use the word thunderbolt? Well, a thunderbolt isn't passive. It implies a sudden, dynamic, and highly alert action. It tells us about a powerful strike. By choosing this exact word, Tennyson is proving to us that the eagle is actively hunting. He has basically compressed the entire drama of a predator diving for its prey into that one single explosive word. How about another Emily Dickinson poem? In this one, she describes a scene in nature where she mentions a happy flower feeling no surprise when it is suddenly beheaded by a blonde assassin. Literally speaking, this might just be the frost or the unmoved sun destroying a flower. But look at that intense language. A happy flower, beheaded by an assassin. When we map words like assassin against the narrator's attitude, we totally unlock the poem. The flower might be happy, but the narrator's attitude, which is revealed through words denoting murder and an unmoved sun, is actually one of total dismay. It reveals a much deeper theme, the narrator's horror at nature's casual, indifferent cruelty. You can tell the narrator is deeply disturbed by how easily beautiful things get destroyed in the natural world. We can even use this toolkit on Sir Walter Scott's poetry. Scott contrasts how a true patriot is remembered with the fate of an unpatriotic person. Our literal reading tells us the patriot's name lives on, but Scott says the person who hates their own country dies a double death. We add our own water to this concentrate to really understand it. They die physically, sure, but their second death is being entirely erased from memory, unwept, unhonored, and completely unsung. Finally, let's decode one of the most famous passages in all of literature. It's Shakespeare's famous monologue about the 7 ages of man, which kicks off with, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." Now, a lot of people think this is a deeply tragic or super dramatic observation about life, but let's look a bit closer at the words and uncover a secret hidden right in plain sight. The absolute crucial point here is his specific use of the word merely players. That one word softens the entire image. It conveys this incredibly indifferent observational tone. It suggests that life is simply a script we follow. We have our entrances and our exits, and there is absolutely no need for anguish or sorrow about it. It just is what it is. And look at how he describes the different stages of this script. When he gets to the soldier stage of life, he describes the soldier as jealous in honor and sudden and quick in quarrel. If we read this literally, this word choice does not describe some noble, brave hero. No, he's just an aggressive, hot-headed guy looking for a fight. The literal words strip away the whole romanticized myth of the soldier. Let's move right to the end of the poem and see how this builds a complete, inescapable circle. Shakespeare takes us from the senseless infant at the very beginning of life, through all these predictable roles, right back to what he calls a second childhood and oblivion at the end. Without his senses, man has returned exactly to where he started. The cycle is completely finished, governed by that exact same indifferent tone. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder based on Shakespeare's cycle. What stage of the script are you currently on? Are you the lover, the soldier, maybe the justice? And even more importantly, the next time you face a dense block of text, are you ready to add your own water to the juice? The next time you encounter a dense, intimidating poem, please don't let it scare you. Just remember the frozen juice. Grab your mental toolkit, find the literal meaning, identify the speaker, scrutinize those specific word choices, and uncover that profound meaning for yourself. The words are literally just waiting for you to bring them to life. Keep unpacking the language, and I'll see you in the next explainer.